You're listening to The Business Focused Photographer. If you're ready to transform your photography business into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll discuss fun and innovative ways to boost your creativity and income. Sound good? Let's go. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today, on our final episode for October ADHD Awareness Month, I'm here with Andrea Pittman of Andrea Michelle Photography. Andrea is a wedding and family photographer, just weddings. Sorry.
Wedding and lifestyle branding.
That's what. Okay.
Yeah.
But what really got my attention is that she's doing this business in 2 states. She's in Arizona and Washington State, and then a little bit in North Carolina too, which is wild to me to make it work anywhere, let alone multiple places. So, welcome, Andrea, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you about something I'm extremely passionate about.
Same. And what makes you special is that you're not just a photographer, you're a counselor who specializes, a therapist in ADHD.
Yeah.
So you know how to work with this crazy.
Yeah, I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Washington and Arizona. So I run a private practice that specializes in neurodivergence in addition to running my photography business in both states as well.
Amazing. So cool, so helpful. Today, you can give us a background on how you ended up with these dual careers. I'm sure they're both solid jobs, and time sucks for you. and how you kind of have got what did you start with? Photography or counseling?
Actually, both. I have always done photography, kind of like a hobby. I think that's probably what every photographer says. Start in high school or really love taking photos or whatever. But when I was in college, I kind of just did it with friends here and there. And then I entered my master's program and couldn't work a full-time job. It was just too much work. Therapy is really intense. So I was like, maybe I can be a photographer to supplement, and because there's a little bit more time flexibility with being a photographer than having a full-time job and having other
A
people
little.
schedule. Yeah, so it was kind of my way of supporting myself through grad school, and it kinda just never went away because I really enjoyed the balance of both things. It really cured kind of my ADHD energy, of, being able to not have to focus on a 40-hour work week and not have to focus on a 40-hour photography week. So it was a really nice balance for my brain.
Yeah, I think that is the appeal of just photography in general as a job for people with ADHD is the absence of monotony and the ability to really switch gears from even from session to session. It's all so different. So for to be able to throw in an entirely other discipline and exercise a completely other part of your brain is amazing. And the the coincidence or not of it being treating others with ADHD is
Mhm.
incredible. Can you take just a moment to speak to what it's like to treat other people with a a, a a form of neurodivergence that you yourself have and probably have to treat in one way or another?
Yeah, totally. It sounds so silly to say this, but it's kind of like magic for me. Um, there is this magnetism that happens with neurodivergence where you just connect and bond really well and make friends really easily with people who are also neurodivergent. Even if they themselves don't know that or aren't diagnosed with that, you can kind of just be my business partner calls it the NADAR, the neurodivergent radar. We're trying to coin this term. But it is kind of like a magnet. You just get drawn to these people. So as a therapist, it really helps develop those really powerful and strong relationship. And with my own experiences and the learning that I can do, I can just validate the crap out of people. I can just validate and help them learn that whatever they're doing is totally okay. and that they don't have to fit a specific mold, that they just get to be what they want to be. And be just because they're ADHD or autistic or neurodivergent doesn't mean that they have to fit a specific mold.
I love that. And is it just me or is validation like 90% of therapy? It, it's
You
like,
are correct.
yeah, that's like what does it for me. I think the first time I had any form of therapy, it was the validating messages that I was getting from the doctor that I'm like really just I clung to after that. And I was like, oh, this is why people like therapy and do it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's so cool. And what an amazing and fulfilling career. I've uh like sidebar long ago before I had my job, I had this self-righteous opinion that whatever career path that you go down should be serving others. It should be serving society at least. And so that the career of photography wouldn't have fit that mold. Although I've since changed my opinion on that. But what an amazing thing to be able to serve others in that way, in as far as mental health goes and everything like that. So kudos to you for being such a societal powerhouse and help to others.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let's jump in to ways that maybe ADHD might trip up a solopreneur, like a photographer, and workarounds, tips and tricks, hacks, whatever you want to call it, that you
Yeah.
and this I don't know, do we need a disclaimer that this is not your official, but
Yes.
maybe just anecdotally what has worked or what you've seen work
Yeah.
and what
Yeah,
you believe is
totally.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of in my experience with being a solopreneur, so what how did you say that? Solopreneur? I words are not my strong suit.
That's okay.
But being having a photography business, it was really scary thinking about there not being a structure and not really being predictable, and I think for a lot of ADHDers that can be difficult, but also can be so appealing at the same time, right? There's a lot of that fluidity and be like, "Oh, I can wake up at whatever time I want to," and, schedule shoots with what works for my body and my mind and when I'm focused or not focused. And that can definitely be a strength, but then there's also this anxiety, I think, around well, then when do I do my taxes? When do I do, like, those numbers? It's not just about going and doing the photography piece, which is the fun part, right?
Mhm.
That's the dopamine hit that
Yeah.
ADHDers need. So I think the difficult piece is building in the entrepreneur work, the business ownership, right? Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear here.
Please do it so that I'm not the only one
Great.
because I'm always the only one cursing on my podcast.
Yes, I love that. So it's the entrepreneurship that I think is really scary and nerve-wracking, and especially for an ADHDer, it's like, "Ho when do I do it? How do I do it?" And so I think my number 1 tip is do what works for you, right? If doing it 9 to 5 doesn't work, then don't do it. Do it at 2 AM when it works, when your brain is working. Do it at 10 PM. Do the stuff that you feel like you need to do or that business checklist when your body tells you to do it, and utilizing that motivation when it comes up. So, I have tried different ways and been like, "Okay, Thursdays are my admin day. I'm gonna do all of my admin, all of my numbers, all my project things on Thursdays." That didn't work. And so I just had to be like, "Okay, I have certain deadlines, and it's okay for me to wait until those deadlines, and it's okay for me to cram it all in the day before that deadline," because that's how our brain works. ADHDers have that unique perception of time, and it's not procrastination, it's just a unique perspective of time, and so it is okay to wait to do all of that stuff. I do probably my whole year expenses 3 days before my taxes appointment with my accountant.
Hallelujah. Okay, and you seem like you
Right?
have your shit together, so that makes me feel better because I am the worst. I'm the worst. That's I
Yeah.
okay, like, first of all, aren't quantum physicists finally just coming out and saying time is officially an illusion anyway. So like, yeah, let's procrastinate, and we will manipulate time in the way that makes it most effective for us anyhow,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
yes, that is, you look for those patterns, right? You notice when the tide comes in and then you ride those waves. You're not I would love to be the person who also is like, Monday is this day and Tuesday is this day, and I'm going to batch it. I'm going to use a Pomodoro timer, and I'm going to do all of these efficiency things that will make me more
Right.
productive and more structured. And when in reality, like that's what I've been running away from.
Mhm.
I hated, and I continue to hate this idea of this predictable schedule where it's like Monday through Friday, you're going through the motions and here it comes and you see it coming down the pipeline and it's going to be the same shit again, another 40-hour work week. And even now is just telling somebody else, one of the things that I dislike about shooting events is knowing that I need to be there and doing this thing that I don't hate doing, but but for what, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. And that like is constricting for me. And I know it's obviously not for everybody. You're a wedding photographer. Other people with
Mhm.
ADHD can handle that sort of assignment. But
Right.
yeah, so look for the patterns
Mhm.
and then go with that and go with the grain and what
Yeah.
feels.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we need to pay so much more attention to what our bodies are gonna allow us to do and when we are optimal. And not everyone is optimal, 9 to 5. Not everyone is optimal on Mondays, right? You might be more optimal on a Thursday night or a Friday morning or whatever or even at a coffee shop, right?
right.
Like, I love working at coffee shops. There's something about the stimulation that gets me really focused in on writing blogs. So if I'm,
Yeah.
like, behind on writing blogs, which is, like, one of the worst things I think in the photography biz, I will go to a coffee shop, get myself a large caramel macchiato or something, and sit and just bust them out.
It's a great idea. And you're right. As I am part of my ADHD is needing to multitask with mindless work with which blog writing really is kind of mindless. It's just so eh, um and like for example, if somebody gets me on a phone call, which to me is like such a waste of time because
I
like
feel that.
right, like don't I need to do something else while I'm on the phone with them. I will clean my house if you get me on the phone for an hour. Like my house will be so clean. So that is such a great idea to go to be productive in a space where there's a lot of things going on. I
Mhm.
bet you I've never tried that because I have a studio, I have workspace at home, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So what about the things that offer us absolutely zero dopamine, like taxes and bookkeeping and things
Yeah.
like that? Asking for a friend, how do we overcome those things that actually are triggering to us uh, for any reason or another, and we start pulling or reaching into our ADHD toolkit for like different ways to
Yeah.
of avoid these
Yeah.
tasks.
This one's taken me so long to kinda get to because my accountant was like, "Just do it at the end of the month, every month," and I was like, "No, that's
Who
not
do you
working
think you're
for my
talking
brain."
to? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hiring out as much as, possible has been really helpful, utilizing those accountant services. Not everybody has the privilege to do that, which I recognize, but finding systems. What is giving you dopamine while you do this? Is it listening to podcasts or watching YouTube, while you do it? Is it having somebody in the room? A body double is a really great skill. I love having my husband or my dog in here with me while I'm doing taxes because then I can talk out loud and he can talk back to me. Um, so there's lots of different
Your
skills.
husband, not the dog, right?
Well, depends on the day. Um,
Sorry.
no, I love it. But I think finding a system that works and also knowing that it's okay to procrastinate it. I mean, what we know about ADHDers is that we're interest driven. Like you said, the dopamine drive taxes doesn't give us dopamine, but we can get dopamine from rush, from adrenaline. So if we are procrastinating, which I believe procrastination is a negatively coded word and it doesn't have to be, But when we wait until, the day before our accountant sets up a meeting with us and we get it done.
Right.
And that's okay.
No
But
shame.
we're still getting the dopamine from that rush, that adrenaline rush of, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be late," or "I have this appointment tomorrow, I gotta get this done." We're still getting that, and that is totally okay. I think so many of us, especially in my generation, have been like, "Procrastination is so bad," right? I was reprimanded at school for
Same.
procrastinating, right? Or not showing my work or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like, but I'm still doing it, and I still did it correctly, so why is that a problem?
Mhm.
It's
I
not.
know. I agree. I agree. I think we were the same student. Are you of like between 30 and 40 years old?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So same. And yes, they wanted to see my work. It was not on my paper. It was in my head. And
Yeah,
I procrastinated, but I did well in the paper. So what is the problem? Why?
right.
And you're right. I love that you're recognizing that it is negatively coded because it's just one way of doing things that works for some people. However, I will say that it is almost always accompanied by stress.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit less now that I'm older and I've procrastinated enough that I've learned that it doesn't always end badly. It usually works out. And this is just
Mhm.
my way of doing it.
Yeah.
Um, for better or worse, sometimes it doesn't put in my head. I'm like, historically, this has been fine. But what can because an ADHD brain is usually an overactive brain.
Mhm.
An overactive brain is usually an anxious brain, right?
Yep.
These things are kind of part of the same continuum. Um, what what can we do, air doctor, for the stress that is always going to find us because of whatever history, the programming, our own stories, the things that we've lived out that seem to come along with our non-conforming tendencies.
Yeah. The thing this is a very therapist-y thing of me to go into here,
Great,
but
great.
I use it in my photography business for myself so much, but there's a book that I absolutely love. It's called Your Brain's Not Broken. I don't remember the author at the top of my head, but they have a grid in this book, and it's like a foursquare, and it's called a Solve It grid, and it basically helps us categorize activities and how much stimulation or overstimulation our body is experiencing with those tasks or those executive functions, which is related to this stress. And that stress is just that overstimulation of doing something that maybe we don't enjoy that feels like a lot. So the solve it piece of that is do whatever is opposite on that grid, which is something that we enjoy that is less stimulating, and pairing the 2. So when we do something, I think it's like the red square in the grid with the blue square in the grid, which is the chill activities. So what is it that helps us stay calm? What helps us like cool down? And pairing those 2 activities can really help with that like come down from stress. So when I'm doing my business taxes or my business things, I'm always going to give myself time or give myself permission to go dissociate on the couch, to just go watch whatever I wanna watch, play my silly phone game, jump in the pool or whatever it is, to do that low stimulating, regenerating activity. I think this is something that entrepreneurs really struggle with, is scheduling in rest. And especially ADHDers, we need that rest. We need that regenerative time because we only have so much capacity, even though we feel like we have all the capacity in the world because of that overactive brain.
My God, I could talk to you forever. That okay, I looked up the book right away because I love a good book,
Yes.
and, it is written by Tamara Rosier. Does that
Yes.
Rosier? And I will link it in the show notes, and I will be, yeah, I will be consuming that. I haven't heard of this Foursquare. I've heard of this for other tasks, but not in this, approach, and yeah, because all the shame and the guilt that I personally feel if I keep finding ways to get away from the high stress tasks that I have to do, I guess is unnecessary. My brain is just doing what it should be doing to balance it out and keep me
Yeah.
on track.
Yeah, we have
Wow.
to ADHDers or neurodivergent people have to use so much more brain energy to keep on track because our neurons actually fire slower than the neurodominant population. And that's why we kind of rabbit trail or get distracted by things is because our neuron is taking forever to get from A to Z. So we're popping into A to B to D to F to all these things. And so our brain is using so much energy to stay on track. So if we're doing a wedding, we have to stay on track, right? We have to
Right.
stay with the schedule. We get some little like free time during the day. But the next day, we can't expect ourselves to stay on track again.
No.
That is why I don't do double, triple headers. I try at least I try not
Right,
to.
right. No, the spoons are gone and the spoons need to regenerate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay. You mentioned executive functioning.
Uh-huh.
I struggle with this a lot, always have. Like as a girl, I'm sure you can relate to this. I don't know when you were diagnosed. I wasn't diagnosed until I was like 38. Okay. And I'm 40 now. So while it was something that I had pushed for as a diagnosis as a kid, I wasn't really sure if I really had it or not, but I was kind of sick of getting reprimanded for the things that,
Right.
it didn't pan out. It was the 90s and the early 2000s, and it just wasn't I wasn't a little white boy bouncing in the back of a classroom, like yelling and out of control. So I wasn't fitting squarely into the DSM-5 of that time that I was in school.
Right.
Of course, now diagnostic criteria has expanded and become a little bit more. It recognizes all the different forms of
Mhm.
ADHD how it's not always a hyperactive body. It can just be a hyperactive brain and all that stuff. But but the executive functioning is what I've struggled with the most my entire life. The part of remembering to do the things that I need to do in advance to prepare, the prep, the remembering, the follow through, the order of operations, all of that is a struggle for me. And I think it's a common struggle for a lot of women with ADHD. But that doesn't mesh well with running a business
Mhm.
and being a solo service provider where you're the only person on your team. You're the one that the client's depending on. You need to be the one showing up when you say you're going to show up in the place you're going to do, and keeping track of all this stuff. How do we overcome this? Sorry, that's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, I think it's different for everyone, but I think I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Figuring out what works for your body and finding that balance and really recognizing how many spoons do I actually have? Right? And how many spoons am I able to regenerate by just sleep? And
Mhm.
what systems do I need to put in place in my home to foster more ability to do like the work executive functioning? There's a lot of like my executive functioning dysfunction comes a lot in chores. Like I hate laundry, I hate doing the dishes, like, I can't. So, I've had to develop systems and acceptance of, like, if I have a really big wedding day, there is no way I'm gonna be able to do dishes when I get home or cook. So, figuring out what systems work really well for me, whether that's meal prepping or having a meal service delivered, to kind of, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, maybe cushion the entrepreneur work so that I can have the energy to do the executive functionings in my job and to be able to do it, but to also recognize, like, sometimes I'm just gonna wanna do it on a day that maybe I've planned to not do it. Like, there's so many times where I'm like, "Oh, I have a weekend off," and then I end up doing all this, like, photography stuff. That was a really hard place to accept for me. It was a really hard thing to just be like, "That's okay." Like, just because I am a little different and I'm not taking weekends off here and there, that's okay. So there's
Right.
like this level of acceptance around sometimes my laundry is just going to go an extra 2 days late or it's going to sit in the wash machine for a couple more hours. Um, and to just be okay with that. I think we've grown up with this perception of productivity and this perception that our executive functioning is within the neurodominant like structure or stereotype, but it doesn't have to be. We can develop it. I literally have a laundry basket in every room of my house.
Me too.
Right? And and I also hang my laundry inside out. I don't turn anything inside out because it's too much. And by taking care of myself and those executive dysfunction outside of work, I am much more of a successful person at work.
We are speaking this, or you're speaking my language because laundry is my kryptonite. Luckily, I have a husband who, up until recently, when we're in the middle of a laundry room renovation, we have been having to use a laundromat. He has been the laundry person. Uh, However, let me share with you a little like a super, this is tangential, but I will try to come right back. Um, a laundry hack that I discovered that works really, really well for me. It sounds like in your house, it's you and your husband.
Mhm.
Okay, so this will be easy for you. I separate laundry before I do it into the baskets for the person that they belong to. And then so that like when it comes out, it's just the same. And it for me, as we're a family of four, that has cut down big, 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 big time. And also doing it all at once, like at the laundromat where everything go in, everything come out, and then
Yep.
within 2 hours it's folded in. But anyway, also to to touch on what you said about the inside out, my best friend, also a photographer, her mother is like a Martha Stewart type A, like she is mommy homemaker, like her house is perfect, everything's immaculate. She discovered a few years ago that her mother hangs her laundry inside out. If that's how it comes out, she'll hang it. And so this is a woman who is like
Yeah.
on the surface, everything else, she's like, me and my sister finally found what's wrong with my mom. Her one flaw is that she will hang her laundry inside out. So no shame in that. Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
I love it.
I I love the idea uh, of just being accepting, forgiving yourself, being okay with this. Was just talking to my husband actually also about laundry last night, and something his therapist told him is like, we like to look for these rhythms in ourselves. This is his ADHD therapist, by the way. We like to look for these rhythms in ourselves, and but we forget that rhythms can kind of fluctuate, and maybe you had momentum with this one thing happening at the same time, and circumstances made it so that it can't happen again, and you adopt this all or nothing mentality, which is, some ADHDers are perfectionists, not me, luckily. But where it's like, shit, I'm like falling off the wagon here. Do I even bother getting back on? This is like, right?
Mhm.
So instead of like being like, that's okay, I can just, I don't know, is that what neurodominant people think, or they are just more likely to be like, yeah, it's okay to have a misstep and just get back to it. Doesn't mean that I no longer am somebody who does my laundry or cooks dinner every night or whatever the task is. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm in an echo chamber of neurodivergence in my house. I have no idea how regular people function.
I don't either because I am also and I am in every other area of my life, but
Same.
and I have a theory that we are all neurotypical or neurodivergent
Right.
and
Which would
that
make us all neurotypical.
exactly.
Right.
That's exactly my theory,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like, yes, we're kind of magnets to others, but also, I have had interaction with neurotypicals or neurodominants or whatever we want to call them, where it's like, "Oh, you're not vibing with me. We're like not the same flavor or
Mhm,
something."
mhm. Yep, yep. Yes, yes.
And I actually kinda discovered that with, like, photography clients mostly, was I always do consultations, I always kinda chat, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna vibe," and I probably book 100% of the clients that I immediately vibe with, because it is like you mentioned momentum, right? We, like, get that momentum, we get that vibe, we get the kind of trail like, run on that trail with those people or with whatever task we're on.
Yeah.
Um, when you were talking about this, something that I kind of just I don't know if I'm coining this term, but it's this idea of like ADHD inertia. So like inertia, right, is this idea of once it kind of gets going, it doesn't stop or it
Yeah.
picks up speed. We are so susceptible to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right, even in photography, I'm like, oh, I booked one mini session. I can book two, I can book three, I can book
That's it.
four. And then right, you end up with like 16 mini sessions in a weekend.
Right. Yes. But
And
it's a great belief system,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it speaks to the power of just energy, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
But what we also have to remember is that we only have a limited capacity. So then we go back to this, what we were talking about with executive functioning is like you also have to schedule self care. What I've noticed is that so many of us don't give self care. Like when I take a vacation, all my friends are like, "You're taking a vacation? Are you sure you're like not going for photography?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm actually." And it's like this big shock. But it's because I've practiced really hard at being like, "This is my self-care time."
Man, it is so hard to turn off though,
Yeah,
uh, the work brain.
it is.
It's like I called, yesterday a day off, even though I edited for 12 hours. But it's what I wanted to do.
Yep,
I was just so excited to have a non-shooting day, a day that was, like, completely open for me to freestyle, as Michael Scott calls it, like, free play. I needed a
right.
free play day.
Right.
And it was like, for me, that's work. So, like, even on a vacation, I guess that's man, Andrea, there's too many, rabbit holes, but,
I know.
how how do you turn your brain off and, like, just be present for a vacation?
I don't. That doesn't exist. Um, I'm always blown away when my husband is a different flavor of neurodivergent, but whenever he's just, like, laying on the couch with no TV or nothing, I'm like,
Right. Raw dog.
How are you doing this right now?" And I think, to be honest, I think a lot of that does come from generational issues and societal pressures of productivity, especially on women in particular. And women with ADHD cling to that idea because it fulfills the like dopamine in our brain, but it's not really the dopamine that we should be getting.
Yeah.
Um, so if my brain is running and like nonstop, I'm gonna listen to what it needs. And often what it needs if my brain is going a mile a minute or thinking about a bunch of things is I either need to write it all down and, like, get it out of my head, or I need to go, like, move, do something, whether that's sit and edit for 12 hours, like, that still might be recharging my battery, you know? Other days, maybe not. But listening to that drive that your body is telling you of, like, I really wanna edit right now, but I know that it's my Saturday and I don't have anything booked and I don't need to edit. Just go ahead and edit. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with that.
Right. Yeah. Agree. We have similar husbands then too, because mine is also of the ADHD where he can just lay down and like be horizontal, like nothing. And he loves it too. I need to
Mm,
fall asleep with like input. I'm the
yes.
sleep I like to fall asleep to a TV show that I've seen 1,000 times and then have the sleep timer turn off. He hates that. It's like the one way that we clash as a couple is he just
Yeah,
wants like 0. He wants like what are those chambers? He doesn't
yeah,
want light, he doesn't want sound, nothing.
yeah.
So it's
My
so funny.
my husband is a pilot and he, like, flies for hours on end with nothing.
Right. Right.
Like, I'm like, "Ho I don't understand."
Right. It's guess that's why they're paid well. They have to they have to over and my husband's claim is like it's, his working memory and his, attention span has been strengthened by a lot of reading, like a lot of not audiobook like I do, but like
Mm,
reading with his eyes. And I have yeah, that makes sense for me, but I don't have
yeah,
time for that because I can if I'm reading, I can only read, I can't multitask.
yeah,
So I have to
totally.
listen, you know?
Yeah, because you have to process it and make sure you're understanding it. Totally.
Right. Thank you. Holy crap. This has been one of my very favorite conversations I have ever had. I want to talk to you
I love it.
more. I have other conversations to have. Can we start to wrap this up? I would love to hear about ways that we can all learn more about what you have to say and what you have to think about our industry, about the ADHD world. Maybe if there's an intersection of it for you.
What do you mean as far as
Do
do I
you,
have any final thoughts?
well,
What
do
are you
you have
looking for?
any resources? Where can people find you? Where can they hear
Ah,
more things that you have to say about this
yeah.
topic?
So I post a lot of my thoughts and theories and feelings. It's very unhinged on TikTok. It's just my Instagram name, which is Andrea Michelle Photo. I also post a lot of ADHD photographer things on my Instagram as well. And then all of my random thoughts on threads under the same name. I also am in the middle of writing a ADHD for wedding photographers guide that will be
Ooh.
downloadable, hopefully in the next couple of months. I'm very excited. I'm also writing one for clients as well because I feel like the wedding space doesn't talk about neurodivergence as something that impacts weddings and impacts the way that vendors work at weddings. Things like weddings are very overstimulating. So we got married last November and I was very intentional about, what how how did I plan in a neurodivergent wedding way, and how did I incorporate neurodivergence into my wedding day? So I want to give that back. So everybody can keep an eye out on my Instagram for that information too.
That's a wonderful guide. That what a great idea. And yes, I got married a really long time ago, no, almost 13 years ago. But my ADHD hack for my wedding planning was to plan as little as possible so that I could not be disappointed when it didn't
Yeah.
work out. And that worked.
Yeah.
So that's one way if you can be if you're type B like I am. Um Andre, thank you
Oh,
so much. And sorry, what
I was going to say I also have a podcast as well that I just launched.
yay.
It is more ADHD mental health based. It's called Brilliant Minds with a question mark, and it can be found on Spotify and YouTube or our Instagram, which is Brilliant Minds Wellness.
Brilliant Minds Wellness. I am going to link to all of that in the show notes and I will definitely be subscribing. That is
Thank you.
so great. And I will share you with all of my ADHD cohorts because as you have indicated, we all just kind of seem to run in the same circles.
Correct.
Um, hey, I want to have you come back. I feel like
I would
this
love
is,
to.
of course, only the tip of the iceberg. But even if it's not ADHD Awareness Month, which by the way, I didn't know was a thing until I looked up when is ADHD Awareness Month. So
Yeah.
sorry to the all the other things that we're being aware of in October that I've been only talking about ADHD, but I just think that there's so much more to dig into here, and you're super fun and interesting to talk to. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you. You too. This was a pleasure. Obviously, this is my passion, so I could talk about this for forever.
But it's working out well because you really are you're a wealth of knowledge and you have such a an incredible angle. So thank you so much,
Thank
Andrea. I really
you. I
appreciate
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a really great day and I look forward to connecting again.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye.
So until next time, keep shooting, keep creating, and keep building the business that supports your dreams. Have a fantastic week. And remember, in the business of photography, your creativity is your biggest asset.